We be different.
Welcome to the Be For Real show. I'm your host, Brother Brooks, and I'm joined by Brother Brooks tonight. Got a lot to discuss. We're going to jump into it real quick. BJ, so first of all, the thing that's been going on this week is those plane crashes, right? Mm-hmm. The D.C. plane crash, which happened on, I believe it was Wednesday night, if I'm not mistaken. Tuesday or Wednesday night.
Yeah.
The D.C. plane crash happens. Mm-hmm. 2 days later, we have the Philadelphia plane crash, which I don't know about you, but something looks spooky, right? Mm-hmm. What are your thoughts on not only the plane crashes, but do you think, or was your immediate thought process terrible accident or something is up?
That was part of my immediate thought process, and then the second part was, so first I thought that is terrible for those people that happened to, obviously, right?
Right. Then
the very next thing that I thought about is, okay, we are already into the term, and we have these terroristic events going on, and it is strikingly similar to how many school shootings that we have from 2016 to 2020, or 2017 to 2021. Mm-hmm. And that strikes a nerve because it makes me feel like, without putting my big tinfoil hat on, but calamity seems to strike where the news media at least cover it a lot more during President Trump's presidency. Right. And it has to do with things that are seemingly terroristic. Now, with these flight situations, it, just obviously it could have been accidental, but at the same time, if it keeps on happening, now we have a trend like what we had in 2017 through 2021. So that was my second thought, is I hope this doesn't become the new trend.
So let me ask you this, BJ. Since you mentioned this being something happening during Trump's term, right? And of course, he's only been in office now, his second term for less than 2 weeks, right? But when he got in, he immediately got to work. He immediately signed hundreds of executive orders, which all affect us in the U.S. citizens. And whether you agree or not, the majority of these, that from my understanding, executive orders are helping the American people. Mm-hmm. Now, we may not see immediate effects of those executive orders right now. I know a lot of people are complaining about the price of eggs, like Trump can come in and snap his fingers and make the price of eggs drop down overnight. Mm-hmm. That's not how that works. Especially when we have over 100 million dead chickens that were killed in the last administration due to bird flu. But here's my thought. Or let me ask you this. Do you consider the COVID-19 era or the initial COVID-19 leak or whatever happened, we know it came out of that Wuhan lab. Mm-hmm. Do you consider that a terror attack?
Yes, absolutely. And the reason being is because whether it was done out of negligence or it was done on purpose, this could have been stopped should the truth have been available sooner. Because recently they just released the documents basically admitting that it came from the Wuhan lab. So to call everybody at that time that was saying it was from the Wuhan lab a conspiracy theorist, and now all of a sudden you're xenophobic and things like this. I think that in a certain way, you can understand that these people are no longer interested in protecting Americans rather than terrorizing Americans by withholding the knowledge that they have. So if I had to guess, just drawing back to the recent events with the plane crashes, there's somebody that has some type of information that we need to know. And if we get a hold of that information sooner, not even just the general public, but people who are in power, at that point, we can probably get ahead of this issue and actually do something about it.
Right.
For example, J.D. Vance, which is now the sitting vice president, is in an interview talking about the fact that, mind you, while he was a senator, he had the same type of Trump derangement syndrome that a lot of people have.
Right.
And that was created and propagated by the media. Come to find out, he was wrong.
But that was created during COVID-19 more so than anything.
And so what I was about to say is it led him to believe, basically, pick up on the same ideology that Trump mishandled the whole COVID-19 fallout. But he found out what we knew from the jump a little bit later on. And here's this guy, he's a senator. He's a sitting senator.
Right.
So what I'm saying is if you withhold information from the general public, you're probably going to withhold it from people in certain cabinets that can actually use their power to do something about it. I think that's terroristic.
I totally agree. Because like I said all the time, man, we don't use common sense, right? We tend to just believe everything that we hear. We tend to believe everything that the news tells us, social media tells us, but we don't critically think, right? But if we would just stop and just use a little bit of common sense sometimes. So going back to the whole COVID thing, me saying that I agree that it was a terroristic thing is because it created fear, right? And that's terrorism. That's the basis of terrorism, to create fear. Because what does fear drive? Fear drives markets, right? Fear affects trade. Fear affects economy, because if people are in fear, they're not going to live their lives as they normally would. They are living out of fear. Fear makes you make decisions based on fear and your fears, whether right or wrong. Now, these air attacks, I'm thinking, man, Trump just signed all of these executive orders. There are a lot of powerful people that do not want Donald Trump sitting in office. He's already had a couple of attempts on his life that we know of, the ones we know of, right? That were made public. Who knows how many other times, some weirdos try some things that we just are not made aware of. But if he has that much of a pull as far as the attention that he gathers and effectiveness in that office, to where so many powerful and rich people want him out of that office, want him publicly shamed. You see all the public shame and humiliation that they tried. That didn't work. All of that backfired, right? The impeachments backfired. The lawsuits backfired. Everything that they tried against this man, even trying to kill him, backfired. So somebody is really angry. So how do you stop such a powerful force that Trump is? And I'm not saying that in an idealistic way, but he is a force multiplier. He gets things done, whether people believe it or not. If we look back into 2016 through at least 2019, before everything just kind of, went haywire, things were going great, right? The economy was moving great. Everybody was making more money. Prices were relatively low. And the biggest thing is we were selling energy to the rest of the world. But with him in the office now, the only way to stop him or slow him down is to distract him, right? So how do you do that? Now, I'm not accusing these plane tragedies of being acts of terror. I'm just saying, let's look at it because it looks fishy.
Yeah. And that's what I want to make sure that I'm clear on too, is I'm not outright saying that these are terror attacks, right. But it raises some red flags if we start to notice the same type of trends that we got from 2017 through 2021.
Right.
Now, God forbid, I pray that that does not happen, right? But you get a sense with how the media spins things, all of a sudden, this is Trump's fault for ending DEI initiatives. And just to make it clear for everybody that doesn't know, he did not fire the FAA director, right? The FAA director actually quit when Trump came into office. Okay. And so with that being said, one of the first things that the Trump administration began to do was get rid of all of these DEI initiatives that would actually plague certain workforces. For example, this is a quote from whitehouse.gov and explaining the issues behind these travel issues, right? As far as DEI is concluded, says almost unbelievably, as a diversity, equity, and inclusion initiative, the Biden FAA specifically recruited and hired individuals with severe intellectual disabilities, psychiatric issues, and complete paralysis over other individuals who sought to work for the FAA. So let me make something abundantly clear. This is not about getting black people to not fly planes, right? This is about making sure that unqualified individuals do not earn the seat over qualified individuals. So that doesn't lead to, if you just use logic,
right,
that doesn't lead to, oh, he shut down the DEI initiatives. Now that's why we got the plane crashes now.
Right.
No, actually, this is something to prevent those types of situations. And that's why I say, you can tell me I'm wearing a tinfoil hat all you want, but if I was crazy enough and I had TDS bad enough and I was in a position to fly a plane, whatever the case is, because the thing is that what we know from both of these videos, things are fishy.
Yes, very fishy.
Why is this plane riding into this Black Hawk? That's what it was, right?
Well, yeah. So the Black Hawk, and I'm glad you mentioned that, because I said it on the video that I dropped last night about those plane crashes. Now, it looked to me when I first saw the first collision from the first angle that they showed publicly, it looked to me as if the Black Hawk helicopter was accelerating and chasing and speeding into the airliner. That's just my mind from my personal opinion from what I thought from the first angle that I saw. Now, call me crazy, whatever I'm just looking at things from all different angles, right? It looked intentional to me. And I've heard several other people say the same thing from that initial angle. It looked intentional, right? This second one in Philadelphia, man, it just looks so fishy because of not only the angle in which that plane was coming down, but the speed. I believe they said it was coming down at a speed of 11,000 feet per minute. Is the last report that I heard, if I'm speaking right. But do you realize how fast that is? That's literally a blink of an eye, right? And we saw the videos. We saw somebody else mention that it looked missile-like, right? We do know that it was a plane that actually went down. But the reason why they said missile-like is from the speed and the angle of which that plane collapsed, and the fireball that it produced initially. When we saw that first Ring doorbell camera video from those people walking in and out their house, man, I was like, and I said it on the show last night, if that was you, in your mind at that time, I would have to be thinking we're under attack. What do you think?
And what's interesting about that is I have a buddy that is an Air Force veteran. If I'm not mistaken, he may be Air Force, he may be Army. But I'm pretty sure he's Air Force.
Okay.
Anyway, he posted on his Instagram a video of it, and that was the first time that I actually saw the video. And when he posted that, he made the point that, hey, this doesn't look like an airplane. This doesn't look like, a flight crash. So I don't know exactly what he meant by that. I'm not gonna say it was a bomb. I'm not gonna say anything.
Well, we could say that if they didn't find the fuselage, which they did find the fuselage because I mean it went down in a residential area.
Right.
So of course,
it's interesting because if you think about back in the Pentagon on 9/11, we're gonna get deep off into the conspiracy world.
Yeah, we're gonna have to. And then here's the other thing: wasn't Trump that attempt on his life? Was that not in Philadelphia?
Yes, it was. It was in Butler, Pennsylvania.
Butler, Pennsylvania.
So it's short,
okay, so it's in the same state.
Yeah.
Okay.
Outside of
in the Philadelphia area.
Right.
Basically. I mean, now I'm not saying like, again, right or wrong, left or right.
Somebody in Philadelphia may not like him.
I don't know, man. I'm just saying it looks fishy.